For reasons that utterly escape everyone involved, you're listening to a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast. Here are your hosts, Gabe Howard and Michelle Hammer.
Welcome to a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast. My name is Gabe Howard, and I have bipolar.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hammer, and I have schizophrenia.
Really? You couldn't match my energy? You just had to make me sound like a manic lunatic?
I match your energy. What are you talking about?
I think you're mocking me. Michelle, you are a graphic artist, and an exceptional graphic artist, and you designed a shirt with the slogan that I came up with.
I came up with.
No, we came up with it together.
No, do you not know the story behind the shirt, Gabe?
Tell me the story behind the shirt.
When I first brought myself to the therapist when I was 18 years old, I go there and I'm trying to talk and he's like, well, what do you want? And I said, I want to be normal. He then said to me, well, what is normal? And ever since then, I've been wondering what the definition of normal is ever since. So we made a shirt that just says, define normal. And it is designed beautifully. And Gabe, where can they get it?
They can go to store.psychcentral.com and find the Define Normal shirt, which supports a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast, and helps ensure that we can, have other episodes. It also says right on the shirt, underneath it, a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast. And it's blue, right? It's blue.
It's blue. That's me singing.
That's you singing.
I don't know why I just
You did great. In therapy, aside from trying to define what normal is and what's normal, for the person in therapy, one of the things that they talk a lot about is goals. And Michelle and I were discussing this, and we realized that we sort of have like three different types of goals. We have the same goals as everybody else, which a lot of people refer to as personal goals.
But we also have goals for our mental illness, and then we have goals for our mental health advocacy.
Yeah, and we've realized that those three goals, they sometimes buck up against each other. For example, you had a personal goal of working, as like a high-end graphic artist in New York City, something that you were quite capable of doing. But you also had a mental illness goal of not being a crazy schizophrenic homeless person, and those two were incompatible.
Indeed, yes.
Indeed, really.
Indeed.
So, and we've talked about this, longtime listeners know that we've talked about this on the show before, but we thought it would be really interesting to talk about all of our goals, and we have this list. We found the internet has everything. We found a list of goal questions.
What's the list of goals questions, Gabe? What are the list of goals? What are your goals, Gabe? What's the craziest, most outrageous thing you want to achieve?
Sincerely, I think it's to be a famous mental health advocate. I mean, there really aren't any famous mental health advocates except for, the late, great Carrie Fisher. And she's really kind of famous for being an actress and the daughter of famous actors. I looked up to her a lot, and I think that a lot of people think that that's a crazy goal. I mean...
Who are you, Gabe?
I'm the co-host of a bipolar, a schizophrenic, and a podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
But sincerely, here's the thing, though. Whenever I say that that's my goal, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, is that an example of grandiosity? I mean, Gabe wants to be a great speaker and a great unifier, and he wants to help people with mental illness, and he wants to make great change in America for how we treat people with mental illness. Clearly, he's having some bipolar issues. But I'm not. That's a sincere goal that I work hard toward. But you are right. To most people, that's the craziest, most outrageous thing that I want to achieve.
I guess so. I think it depends on how you really say it. If you're like, I want to be a famous mental health advocate, that sounds like grandiosity. But if you say, I want to change the way that like mental health is seen, people with mental illness are treated, all that kind of stuff, that sounds like a really measurable, great goal.
And I think it does come down to measurements. But as I am fond of saying, this is my favorite Gabe Howard quote, it's only grandiose if you fail. So as long as I succeed, it's no longer grandiosity. It's just something that I achieved. And that's one of the reasons that it's so difficult, I think, to be mentally ill. The goalpost keeps moving. I remember a way long time ago, I said, I want to be a speaker. I want people to pay me for my words. And somebody said to me, nobody's going to pay a bipolar for anything that they have to say. Well, but then I achieved it. I started getting paid for speeches. So then somebody told me, well, you can't make a living at that. I mean, maybe you'll make a couple extra bucks here and there, but now I make a living on it. And then people are like, well, but I mean, you could probably make more money someplace else.
Why is everyone trying to put you down?
Because people in general don't like the idea that people with mental illness can succeed at a high level. We're much more comfortable believing that people with mental illness are barely scraping by. And if we are doing well, we even get tagged as like, oh, you're just not that sick. You're a high-functioning bipolar, a high-functioning bipolar.
Ugh. You know how much that pisses me off.
I do know how much that pisses you off. Michelle, I'm going to flip the exact same question to you. What's the craziest, most outrageous thing that you want to achieve?
I need to get Buffy the Vampire Slayer to wear one of my t-shirts. That's a very easy goal. That's all I want.
Have you told anybody this goal before? Is this like the first time you've ever...
I don't think I've mentioned it really to anyone, but that is my goal. I mean, I would fall on the floor. I would just like die happy that day, like collapse.
What have you done to achieve this goal?
Absolutely nothing. I don't know how to achieve this goal.
I mean, have you mailed Sarah Michelle Gellar one of your shirts?
I have not.
Have you emailed her and asked?
I have not done anything.
Have you told her that you are the only schizophrenic girl to ever open up her own clothing line?
I have not. But I follow her on Instagram. I like her photos. I sometimes leave a comment, but she gets so many likes and so many comments. I don't see how she's ever going to find me. But I go to Buffy Trivia and I win. I represent. I just want her to wear my shirt. It'll like bring me so much joy to my life.
You know who you remind me of? You remind me of that like creepy middle-aged man that finds his high school girlfriend on Facebook and he just keeps liking her pictures. And in his mind, he's like, she will see the likes and know that we are meant to be together.
I just know it's a crazy, outrageous goal. I mean, I'm aware, but like, that would be amazing to me. I mean, if it happens, if it doesn't happen, it's one of those things, it's okay. But
I don't think it's going to happen unless you actually do something. I mean, that's kind of how goals are.
I know. My 15-year-old self would just love it.
Okay, but so what is the most outrageous goal that you have in terms of your illness? I mean, like, what is your most outrageous goal when it comes to schizophrenia?
Schizophrenia? Who knows? That I won't have to take medicine anymore?
Yeah, see, mine is that it's cured.
Yeah.
I would like bipolar disorder to be cured. I would like schizophrenia to be cured. I suppose my secondary goal is I wish there was a definitive test. I think a lot of times with people like us, we don't get the treatment that we need, and the people around us don't take it seriously because we don't have that hard and fast proof. Like if there was a blood test that said Gabe Howard has bipolar, I think people wouldn't dismiss me as quickly.
Exactly.
You know, like you said a few episodes back where people are like, oh, she's faking schizophrenia. Well, yeah. I mean, I know that you're not. You know that you're not. Your doctors know that you're not. And of course, you have the famous line.
Oh, that if I'm faking schizophrenia, then I need an Academy Award. Just call me Meryl Streep. Give me an Oscar.
Yeah, but you still don't have that definitive boom. You know, and I think that it would help our people a lot if they had that definitive blood test. Nobody gets accused of faking cancer because there's medical records that prove that you have cancer. And if somebody is suspected of it, it really can be, you know, teased out relatively quickly. There's proof. And we don't have proof. And unfortunately, as we've talked about before, there are some people that do fake mental illness for a variety of reasons. None of them that are good, but you know, unfortunately, they are out there.
I guess so. But have you achieved any of your goals that you have like had in the past? I mean, have you achieved any of your goals?
Have you achieved any of your goals, Michelle?
I mean, to bring it up once again, Gabe, I was in Inside Lacrosse magazine. The only person on my lacrosse team to get into Inside Lacrosse magazine. The only person in all of the SUNYAC conference. You don't even know what the SUNYAC conference is, the conference league we were in, to be in Inside Lacrosse magazine. I'm just saying that was quite a goal to accomplish.
Were you on the cover?
I wasn't on the cover, but I'm just saying, you know, a poor little defender like me, I can break every 2v1 that comes my way, but I don't make any goals as in shots goals, so I never get Athlete of the Week. But this little defender, who was amazing, gets into Inside Lacrosse magazine. Thank you, and I take a bow.
So the distribution of Inside Lacrosse magazine is what? Like the distribution for the Stigma Fighters books? Like the people that are in it buy it?
No. Inside Lacrosse, there's 2 lacrosse magazines in the country.
Well, yeah. Why would there be 3?
Shut up.
No, but sincerely, I do understand what you're saying. Way, way back when I was but a young mental health advocate. Actually, I don't even think I would call myself a mental health advocate, but I was at a doctor's office and they had Bipolar magazine. And I picked up Bipolar magazine and I read it and I was like, I can't believe that there's a whole magazine dedicated to people with bipolar disorder. And this is back in like 2008. So it really was like a decade ago. And I read the magazine and I subscribed to the magazine and I always dreamed of being in the magazine. And for a couple of years, I wrote for Bipolar magazine and
That's really cool.
I was in the magazine and I wrote for their website and I got to meet the woman who created it. And it really was an amazing thing because I don't know that I set a goal to write for Bipolar magazine, but I did set a goal to be an inspiration to somebody. And the people inside that magazine were an inspiration to me.
You know what? I just realized. I've always wanted a documentary about me, and I had one made by WebMD.
Well, like a 10-minute one.
Well, come on, Gabe. Was there a 10-minute documentary about you?
Not yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, whatever, Gabe. So all anyone needs to do is just search WebMD Michelle, and you can see my documentary, which Gabe says is just 10 minutes, so that means you can just watch it on a break. You know another goal I achieved? I proved people wrong. That's what I did.
Talk about that for a minute, Michelle. I like what you said there. You proved people wrong. One, who did you prove wrong?
My high school teachers. I did terrible in high school. I think I just proved a lot of people wrong. I don't even know. I don't know who I proved wrong. I just proved people wrong. The world, the people that believe a schizophrenia diagnosis means that you will never be able to live a good, fulfilling life. They think that diagnosis means that basically your life is over. You're just not going to be the same person ever again. And I'm showing people that that's completely untrue. That's just a false belief. I've proved the world wrong, and I'm trying to show everyone that everybody else with a schizophrenia diagnosis or other mental illness can prove people wrong as well. You know.
And how are you doing that? How are you proving people wrong?
Just by living on my own, supporting myself, being an advocate, going to conferences, being featured in different online blogs or magazines, making speeches. I might have already said that. Having a podcast, having a clothing line and running a business, talking to people about mental health at my pop-up shop. I'm changing the world, one person at a time.
I know that you say that sarcastically because, you know, I can see your face while we're recording, but you really are changing the world one person at a time. There are a lot of people, myself included when I was first diagnosed, that thought the diagnosis of mental illness meant that I just thought my life was over. And I wish to God that I could have known Michelle Hammer the day that I was diagnosed, because I felt so helpless. And that's one of the reasons that I made a goal to be very visible living with bipolar disorder. So when the next person was diagnosed, they'd think, this is scary and this is hard, but I know this idiot on the internet and he seems to be doing okay, so maybe I can do okay too. So that was one of my goals early on.
Hold up, Gabe. We gotta stick in an ad to pay the bills.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.com. Secure, convenient, and affordable online counseling. All counselors are licensed, accredited professionals. Anything you share is confidential. Schedule secure video or phone sessions, plus chat and text with your therapist whenever you feel it's needed. A month of online therapy often costs less than a single traditional face-to-face session. Go to BetterHelp.com/Psych Central and experience 7 days of free therapy to see if online counseling is right for you. BetterHelp.com/Psych Central.
Welcome back, everybody. Gabe, what in the world were you talking about?
That's so mean.
I know.
Michelle, I want to ask you about failure.
Ugh.
What is a goal that you failed at?
I wanted to be a creative director at an amazing ad agency in New York City. I thought I would be so rich, living in a beautiful apartment. I thought I would just be lavishly loving life. Well, I do love life, but I thought I would just be living so lavishly. I had all these, like, you know, kind of grandiose dreams for myself, kind of like that. But that obviously didn't happen because I could not keep a job in corporate America. But it's okay because now I'm the creative director of my own company. So, you know what I mean? Didn't work for other people, but I can work for myself. So I just kind of flipped my goal into something else. But I did fail at my original goal, but then I made a new goal that I achieved. You know what I'm saying?
The great Rachel Starr, who is very cool and a friend of ours, she said that it's not really failure, it's just an opportunity to learn and change the goal. So if you make a video and the video sucks, you probably learned something while making the video, and then your next video will be better. And she's right, because some of the first articles that I ever wrote were not award-winning. They were terrible. And even if we're honest with our listeners, go back and listen to episode 1 of A Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a Podcast right now. Then listen to episode number 2, and now listen to the last 2 episodes. We've improved a lot, because I'm not saying that those episodes were failures. I'm just saying there's constant improvement.
If you think we haven't improved, send us an email so we can laugh at Gabe.
That's so mean.
I like to laugh at you, Gabe.
That's so mean.
Well, let's just talk about your goals, Gabe. What do you want to do when you retire?
Never talk to you again.
Never talk to me again when you retire. That's a lame retirement goal.
Are you going to stalk me, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm going to stalk you.
Are you going to find me on Facebook and like all my pictures and hope that I know that means that you want to reprise the podcast?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
That's awesome. I don't know that I want to retire. I think I kind of want to die in office. And I don't mean like young. I do this work because I love it. I love it. I want to be famous in part because, who doesn't want to be rich and famous, but the majority of my drive is I just want the world to see somebody living with mental illness that they don't feel sorry for and that they believe in. And I want them to get that information from the horse's mouth. And the more people who listen to me, the more I want to work. And I hope that I never reach the point where I think that so few people are listening that there's no reason to continue. Because as long as people are willing to listen to me, I can't imagine that I'm going to stop talking.
I like what you said there when you said you don't want people to feel sorry for you. That's just so true. I don't want people to feel sorry for me either. When people feel sorry for me, it's don't. I live a great life. I might be more stable than you. So not you, Gabe, just whoever says that to me. You don't know my life. I might just have a diagnosis. That doesn't mean I'm not, a human person that lives in the world very successfully and well. Don't feel sorry for me. I don't need your pity. You're right.
I agree. So eloquently spoken, I love teasing you, Michelle.
Oh my God.
Goals are one of those things that everybody should have. And let me tell you the goal that I am most proud of achieving in my entire life. There was a time that I couldn't get out of bed. I was so depressed. I was in my suicide apartment. It's an apartment that I rented to kill myself. And I had been in this bed for 5 or 6 days and I couldn't move. And people were trying to help me. People didn't realize how bad it was. And a therapist told me to write a list of goals on the mirror. And the goals were get out of bed, get undressed, take a shower, shave, brush your teeth, put clothes on, leave your house. And it took me a week to accomplish all of those goals, to actually shave and shower and put on clean clothes. And I remember the day that I did all of them. And I did all of them in one day. And it took 3 hours. But the day before, I didn't put on clean clothes. And 2 days before that, I didn't even shower. And I hadn't brushed my teeth in so long that dentists were starting to cold call my house because they could smell my breath. So they knew that I needed somebody. But I just remember the day that I finally got it all together. And I left and I went to the local coffee shop. I was really into lattes back then. And I ordered one and I sat there with everybody else. And I realized that nobody in that building knew that what I was doing that day was exceptional. It was exceptional because they can get ready in 15 minutes. That was the goal that I was proudest of ever in my life.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Why, thank you. I sincerely believe that when we're sick and when we're depressed and especially when we're suicidal and when we're delusional and we're not thinking straight, we don't realize how amazing it is that we keep going for another hour and we keep going for another day. Everybody likes to think about goals as these gigantic things, buy a house, get married, have kids, make $100,000. Those are great goals. And some of those goals I've even achieved. But I tell you, I wouldn't have gotten to any of those huge goals if I would have ignored the little goals. And I will be forever in that therapist's debt.
I think there was a point in my life where I wasn't even setting goals because I was so upset and suicidal in my life that I was just like, if I wake up tomorrow, then I wake up tomorrow. I had no goal set for the day. I just walked around the day just like a robot. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to class. Now I'm going to lunch. What's happening now? In depression zone. And I never set any goals because I didn't see the future ever happening. I just saw the future as a plain black space and that I was just not going to live for much longer, really.
You had a goal to stay alive and you achieved it.
Yes.
And I don't think that people give people like us enough credit for that. There was one point that I did not think that I would meet that goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing that I survived high school. And if it was not for the lacrosse team in high school, always goes back to that, I would probably not be alive.
Michelle, that's really deep, and I think it's really relevant to talk about. So let's end on a high note and talk about the Gabe and Michelle 2-year world domination goal. What is it? How are we going to take over the world in the next 2 years?
I think our goal for the next 2 years should just be continuing to be inspirational to people, to show people that just because you have a label of a mental illness doesn't mean that your life should be just in shambles and that you should just be alone forever. We should show people that you can live a great, engaging, successful life, continue to inspire people, have fun, be happy, and rule the world.
Now, just to be sure, are we going to continue to inspire people?
I said it 4 times, so absolutely. Inspiration.
I do agree with you, Michelle. It really is important that we keep doing what we're doing. And we've said a million times that one of our goals is just to talk about mental health and mental illness openly. We would love it if everybody agreed with us, but frankly, that's not our goal. Our goal is to get people talking about mental illness, find the right resources, and find their path to recovery. Agreeing with us is nice, but it's not required. We have many people who listen to us to send us emails to correct us, and we are being very sincere. We love those people because they are critically thinking about their own mental illness and mental health in a way that works for them. That doesn't offend us at all. Be respectful and we'll be respectful back.
We have to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations in order to move forward.
That's very true. That's very, very true. They are tough conversations. Telling my family about mental illness was probably one of the hardest things that I ever did. But because I included them, they were able to find information and become the great support people that they are. If I would have remained too embarrassed to tell them, they never could have helped me.
If I continued to be ashamed of being schizophrenic, then I would just stay in my apartment, shut the door, and not speak to anybody all day. But instead, I told my friends, they already knew. I told another friend, she already knew. I realized that if my friends already knew and they didn't care, we're still my friend, why do I care about anyone else's negative opinion? I tell the world, I tell everybody, or my clothing line, anyone I talk to that asks me about it, I tell everyone. If anyone has an issue, if anyone doesn't want to talk to me, if anyone wants to say it's a bad thing that I'm telling people, they can go fuck themselves.
And on that note, we will go ahead and wrap up the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can hop over to store.psychcentral.com and buy the Define Normal shirt, which supports the show, and it was designed by the fabulous Michelle Hammer. And please, 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 please write us a review, rank us wherever you download this podcast. Don't be afraid to share and leave comments. And with that, we will see you next week.
Inspiration!
You've been listening to A Bipolar, a Schizophrenic, and a Podcast. If you loved this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Head over to iTunes or your preferred podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. To work with Gabe, go to GabeHoward.com. To work with Michelle, go to schizophrenic.nyc. For free mental health resources and online support groups, head over to PsychCentral.com. The show's official website is PsychCentral.com/BSP. You can email us at show@PsychCentral.com. Thank you for listening, and share widely.